And we're live. AJ Jump and Joe Burke. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good.
Doing great, brother. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. It's a good day today. A lot of dad stuff today. I got my kid's T-ball uniform earlier tonight, and so it's like really weird that he's playing T-ball.
Is it like Nike or Under Armour?
No, it's like Gildan.
Well, that's surprising because some of these, I forget which one I just recently saw. The kid had like a New Era hat, and I'm like, wait a minute, did that just say like whatever
Dude.
municipality it was, and then he's wearing a New Era hat?
I've seen. I mean, sports, I guess these days for kids is serious business. I mean, my kid has a 7:30 game on a Wednesday night. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's 8 o'clock now. He didn't have a nap today, so he's in bad shape. So, I mean, I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see.
Is he 3 or 4 at this point?
He's 3 now. He just turned 3 in December, so he's like 3 in 4 or 5 months. So, I heard watching T-ball at this age is worse than watching paint dry, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Yep.
Indeed.
But it's great to see you guys. I mean, AJ, you and I talk frequently. I actually got to see you recently as well. We're working together on some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. Joe, I have not seen you. I don't know how long. I guess the last time I saw you was our last interview on, we'll call it a different channel. I guess that was, I don't even know when that was.
I think it was August or September.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously, AJ, I wanted to talk to you about the shows you have coming up out back at Karl Hall. Joe, you have a new song coming out on May 7th called Roads. I just wanted to kind of hang out with you guys and shoot the shit, but it kind of worked out in the same sense that, you guys had stuff going on too. So we'll kill, I guess, 3 birds with 1 stone tonight.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Sounds great.
Since we last talked in the past year, I don't want to get too into it because I feel like it's all we talk about is COVID, and I feel like we're finally starting to come out of it, and there's positive things going on, like we said with AJ's things, coming up in the summertime. But how have you guys been over the last year?
Arthur, why don't you take it there?
It's been, I mean, for what it's worth, it's been a good year, growing wise. I would say, really thinking about things personally. I'm doing a lot of things in my regular daily, everyday life that I haven't done either in years or never did. And COVID kind of is what spiked that personally. So, but as far as business wise, it couldn't suck anymore because I love music, and you have to be around people to experience quite a large percentage of music. I mean, who wants to just sit at home and listen to albums? That's all well and good, but like live music is my thing, and can't do that without people.
Right, AJ. I mean, I always joke that you play in every single band that I've ever heard. So I mean, that's all is outside of having the venue now. But I mean, you've been a gigging musician for as long as I've known you, and not just one band, but 2, 3, 4. I think you even work with Joe Burke on some of his stuff. So I can't imagine being in your shoes as far as being an artist who kind of depends on not only the revenue that you get from playing shows, but also just, mentally and creatively and just kind of something that you love to do and not being able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it was really, really weird, to just go months and months without playing with anybody. The first time in my professional life that had ever happened. So like, and plus I mean, that being said, like what you're saying, John, the reason being is like, I can't go and book solo shows at a bar and like play myself. I need other people. And I've been in bands and I've collaborated with artists like I do now, like with Joe, but it's still, you know, I can't go and do my solo thing and just put all, like, I need to be in a group with people. And, when you're told you can't do that anymore, I'm not going to lie, it really messes with you, and especially like when there was so much uncertainty of like, well, what is this and how long is this going to be? And then it just got into this like world of like, wow, this is going on a lot longer. And like, mentally it does sort of mess with your ticker and I don't know, but I'm glad that we're starting to see an end here. And, it's good to get back to playing some outdoor stuff. And, Joe and I've been, working through this, going back and forth on computers and, cell phones and everything else, talking about, these tunes. We were in the middle of all this. We mixed all of, these tunes that we have on the back burner here that Joe's been releasing. So that's been really great. So we've been creative other ways other than getting together. Luckily we had all that music recorded, and then this happened and it was like, well, perfect timing. Brett's in his hole. He could just sit there and mix and just send them away. Thank God for the internet these days, because if it was, the mid 90s, that wouldn't happen. We would have just been, could you imagine if this happened in like 94?
Dude,
Like what would people like? I think people would have went beyond batshit crazy.
Yeah, but not just, I mean, just commerce wise too, like economically, like, I mean, thank God for the internet. I mean, it sucks that the rich got richer during all this. Jeff Bezos isn't hurting at all. Like, Amazon's doing okay. Um,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate, but in the same token, it's like, thank God we have all that we could, continue to move like as people, I guess you could say.
The whole world, like, think about that. If this happened in 94, the entire world legit would have stopped.
Yeah.
There would have been no business, no exchange of money, nothing.
Yeah.
Like how the fuck would you have gotten food? Like when people got like Instacarts and shit.
Yeah.
Like how would they, like, banking? Like you didn't use a debit card in 94. Like think about that. Like we're pretty damn lucky that this happened when it did with the technology that we have, It's nuts.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I guess we have that to be thankful for,
Yeah, and a lot of people that I talk to have been able to kind of see the positive and see the silver lining, so to speak. Just like you said, kind of slowing down and addressing things that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise because we're just all busy. Joe, I mean, how have you navigated through the past year?
I think decently well. I think the one thing that you and I probably talk to each other about first, and as AJ and I do very often, are the people in our lives, in our circles that we've become even closer to, given that they're the ones we not are forced to see, but that we have to see more frequently, and how they've all been faring. And I think in that respect, I've been lucky for the most part, that the people kind of closest to me have been okay. Even those that have, like my 5-year-old or 6-year-old nephew across the street had COVID. So, it's touched me certainly in some closer ways, and he's all good, and his siblings are too. But that's the first thing that comes to mind, the question of how I fared is that thankfully on the other side of it, or as it's getting better, everybody's been okay. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were still in law school, correct, through all this?
Yeah. I just finished this past Thursday, which would have been the 28th or 29th.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Joe's a big boy now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world. It sucks.
Yep. I'm gonna enjoy this time before it actually happens.
But that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
And that was good too. I mean, I was able to have a couple classes in person, vast majority online, which is certainly a different style of learning, but forces you to stay disciplined on your own and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder how schools are gonna like kind of get through this, like specifically like college level, where they kind of benefited on the backs of all of us, uh, you know, kids paying to go to these schools, and whether you know it or not, those that tuition you're paying not only for the education, but you're paying for those cafeterias and sports fields and all that kind of stuff. But like,
Yep.
a lot of these kids, I mean, they weren't even on campus anymore. They weren't. They were, learning remotely. And I kind of feel like the curtain was pulled back a little bit on, how much, how do I say it? I don't know, just like how much everyone contributes to a brick and mortar school, but they really don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah, like how much people are um, gets taken out of their wallets for things that you're maybe seeing now. What can be accomplished, in a more minimalistic kind of approach to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, paying a park and all that kind of stuff. It's like it all adds up. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for sure.
I guess we'll see.
I have a friend that lives like a couple friends that live in the hill section in Scranton. We were driving around there Saturday, and I was like, shouldn't there be some kids stumbling around right now, like around this time, like 19-year-olds or something like that? And as we passed, then we realized, all right, it's only 5:30, and we started to see some guys in jerseys and with their shirts off as we were moving through. So it's like, all right, so they're at least getting to enjoy the non-work aspects still here and there.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're both well and your immediate circles are, Joe, you mentioned your nephew, but all seems to be well there. So that's good.
Yep. Yep.
But let's talk about the positives. I mean, Joe, you released 2 new songs last year through all this.
Yeah.
And you're going to be releasing one, like I said, on Friday, May 7th, called Roads. And I mean, singles are all the rage these days. Obviously, that's how music is released, and that's kind of how the industry is these days. Tell us a little bit about that song, and obviously, AJ, I think you worked on it with him as well. I heard it earlier. It's a fantastic. I'm not let down by any means. I do think though, like you released your debut record, 2018, Mystic, immediately streaming everywhere right now. That's going to be a hard album to follow up. I got to tell you that right now. You have tracks like August. I think that's my favorite tune on that record. Roads is good. It doesn't get to the level of August for me, but that's just me. I'm just me. But tell us a little bit about the song.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that AJ and I are on here kind of talking together, because it's certainly at this point, a partnership of sorts, and then AJ and I, we kind of have our group of merry men that cycle in and out in terms of playing live shows. We get to play with Mark Kaisinger, plays bass pretty much all the time for us, and Brett, of course, when he's been able, he's played with us. We get to play with Stephen Murphy from Modern Ties, and Rob Husty.
That clown. He's a goofball. That Stephen character.
He is a goofball, a talented goofball. But yeah, I mean, I actually wasn't thinking about it in these terms, but this was like one of 5 songs that we recorded. About 5 months. It was like August before things shut down in March of 2020. So, and the plan has changed at times, and I think given the uncertainty, it made more sense. This is something that like AJ and I have figured out together, that it made more sense to do this kind of singles approach and follow the all the rage with the way people do it, to kind of give each song enough air to breathe. I have a lot of romanticism for albums and stuff like that, and get excited when some of my favorite artists drop them. And I suspect you're the same way, Johnny and AJ. I know you are as well. But like, if I were to think about it in terms of Mystic immediately, I almost wish that I could have gotten a chance to promote every song individually. Just given the stage that we're at, like the audience that we're releasing to is still so small. And so almost taking all the content that you have and stretching it to give it enough life or enough air to breathe makes a lot of sense given the stage that we're at. So I don't know where I was going with that. I think just the singles approach right now will probably be the approach for a while. We have one or two left beyond this one. And then we're doing pre-production in like 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks from today, or maybe a week from today.
Yeah, 1 week.
Yeah, and then I think the plan will probably be to get in the studio this coming August to work on those. So yeah, a lot, keep it moving, just continuing to make music and all that.
I feel like August kind of has some kind of attraction to you. You said August probably 5 times tonight. And my favorite song is August. You have a song called August. We last talked in August, and that's funny.
I'm conscious of it now too, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's funny because like doing these singles, like artists almost hype up these singles now like they would an album. And Dustin Jevis just released a new, and the Electric Gentleman just did a new tune last week, and he kind of said that he promoted this one single more than he's ever promoted an album before, which it's just kind of interesting to see how things have shifted. And like you said, you kind of give each song a minute to breathe and sit out there.
Yeah, and I think even from the perspective from like a writing perspective. I wouldn't say that, I've only done really one album before, but I've certainly written a lot of songs in my lifetime. I wouldn't say that I'd be someone who would be inclined to write an album. I think I'm always just writing a song. And so it almost like makes more sense, to like, I wouldn't say that I'm spending as much time on one song as I would be an album. I'm just saying that it's a closed universe, the song itself. And so it's to get to the end of that finish line and to see how you did along the way and whether you can make any improvements. So it's almost like it's the more justified approach.
Yeah. Now, is that how you write?
It's kind of...
Go ahead.
What's that?
No, AJ, go ahead.
No, sorry. What'd you ask?
No, I was just going to make a comment about like what we're talking here. What we're talking about here, it's nothing new in the business. It's just the way that the format of it is new. But like 45s, that was the thing, and they were in machines at places, and you put a side A and a side B out, and even John, not so much Joe, but John, when you and I were kids, I remember getting tape singles in, my Christmas stocking or whatever, side A, side B. They were still pushing that stuff in the 90s. But like, if you really think of the long span of it, it started out sort of that way with these singles. Why? Because there wasn't like a ton of money flooded in the industry. And then what happened? The Beatles. And then music became so vastly and widely popular, and television and so then music, it exploded through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, those 30 years. So there was a plethora of money to be able to make records. And like Joe said, I think back at different stories with different people, that I've worked with in the past, but just like these bands would get a $1 million advance. They wouldn't even have an album yet. And they would go to some house in the Hollywood Hills and write the whole thing. Then they would go to a studio and record the whole thing. And that whole process would take a fucking year.
Mm-hmm.
And they would get paid to do that whole thing. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you have to come with it completely finished, mixed, mastered by the greatest people on earth, and then maybe we'll sign you.
Mhm.
Right.
So it makes more sense now, money wise, and now people are putting studios in their homes. Just put it out little by little, A, because time is money, and B, also because now we're in this world where it makes way more sense of that format because there's just so much content.
Right.
The people can only focus on something that is, what's the old saying? You get your 15 minutes of fame,
Right.
and that's really it. Like, that's it, and then like even all these different artists are now reinventing themselves. Look at Post Malone. All of a sudden he just comes out and plays Nirvana.
Yeah.
Nothing like what he just did.
And then
Because his 15 minutes was over. He needed to do something else to grab people. It's nuts. It's the wild freaking West.
It's definitely interesting though. I mean,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And I mean, like, there are people who are becoming like famous, like off of songs that are made popular on TikTok. Like, I mean, who would have
Mhm.
thought that would happen? I mean,
I have discovered songs that I like from TikTok.
Right.
Within the past few months, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
TikTok, what a time suck that is. I mean, there's so much funny shit on there.
there is.
I lose my life watching that shit.
My fiance is addicted to it. In fact, I just said that to her 20 minutes ago.
I make one observation. My one observation was that, like, as a grown man, when I got onto it, I felt a little uncomfortable having the app because, like, I felt like the vast majority of things that I was seeing were young guys or girls. Nothing against this whatsoever. I just mean, like, it seemed very sexualized in a lot of ways, everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And so you had to start liking comedians, or you had to start liking funny videos, or you had to start liking impressionists or music, so that your feed would not just be filled with people doing kind of sexy dancing in some way. Again, nothing against that. I just mean it was not what I was expecting when I got TikTok, I suppose.
Yeah, I got on it, and then it was exactly that. It's like kind of like, whoa, I'm way too old to be watching this girl dance.
Yeah.
And then just like the whole like China spying on you type thing, I guess that kind of scared me too. But either that's not really true, or no one cares. So I'm back on. I'm back on it. I'm not on it too much, but when I am on it, it's just like, it's just like my life goes away.
Well,
Yeah.
Why is everybody so worried about everybody like, oh, they're watching me? They're watching us right now.
Yeah, I hope so.
They're watching your every move.
I hope
There's
so.
cameras freaking everywhere nowadays. So
If they are watching us, then you guys should all go and listen to Roads. It's going to be out on Friday by Joe Burke and Co. It's a great song. You guys are going to love it.
Yes.
There
Please
you
like
go.
and subscribe to the Popko Project on YouTube. Follow me on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram.
Yep, I have a new church coming out in 3 weeks.
There you go.
Yeah, Donald Trump just released a new social media platform.
Let's not talk about that. I don't even want to say his name.
All right. Sorry.
Charles Barkley always says, no free pub. Let's not even,
No.
I don't even want to say that word.
All right. Fair enough. Well, AJ, you've got some big things coming up this year as well. Obviously, the last year and a few weeks now, Karl Hall has been empty outside of, and I know you hosted some like live streams with Tiger's Jaw and maybe some other things as well. But outside of those things, Karl Hall has been shuttered, and that's not ideal for a venue owner. You're not alone, obviously. You have many around you, Kirby Center and tons of different venues, doors closed. But and I think even last year you kind of did an outdoor thing to kind of get your feet wet or test the waters. I think it was a huge success. And if I'm mistaken, I apologize. But
No, that's October. We did a show in early October,
okay,
kind of
cool.
as the litmus test to
Sure.
this whole thing that the whole schedule that I released for Outback at Karl Hall, just to kind of see, and that was before COVID went absolutely crazy here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So that was like pre everyone getting COVID, and people still came and supported and felt safe, and and it was good. So kind of the proof was in the pudding. So then, when, like I said, through November and December, obviously we couldn't do anything because of the weather, because of COVID, obviously January, February, March too, as well. So then I was like, well, that was the proof in the pudding, definitely going to do this. And I just kind of got to work in the beginning of March, got on the horn, started calling everybody, and here's the idea, here's what's going to happen, and we're going to roll it out, and start shows Memorial Day weekend, and roll all the way through to the top of fall, basically. And then from there, I'm not sure, because I'm just, we do seated shows at 90 capacity and standing shows at 140 capacity. Under the indoor regulation right now, you can only have 25% of your seated capacity. So do the math.
Yeah, that's less than 30 people.
Yeah, and then you have to add the band as part of that.
Right. Your
and
staff.
Then and exactly. So, at the end of it, it's like, 20 total people. You'd have to, charge $50 a ticket. It's just not. And then even if we get to 50% of that, it makes people uncomfortable. People don't want to be inside right now, especially now that more and more, more and more information, more and more information is coming out about how being indoors in close quarters, if someone has it, doesn't matter, you're exposed.
Right.
If you're inside, that's it. It doesn't matter if you're 6 feet or 60 feet away, unless you're, in some large, massive place with, 10 people. But Karl Hall's a small place. We're not going to go jamming people in there, exposing people possibly to, and then also, I'm not going to get political or anything, but, that will also come the time, depending on where we are with this, is to whether or not make the decision to allow or not allow people to come inside that haven't been vaccinated yet. And that could possibly end up being a thing. And a lot of businesses could end up, getting to a point where if this goes backwards, which we don't know, can it? Yeah, it can.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. But, the vaccines are doing what they're supposed to do, protecting people from dying.
Yeah. And we don't know. I mean, they're saying that the vaccines could last 6 months. You might need a booster. Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be outside. We're going to be outside. We're going to start May 30th. These are afternoon shows. The gates will be at 2:30 in the afternoon, and the show will start at 3. Most shows will be between 3 and 6. Some of them maybe 3 to 5, depending on the amount of acts. You could bring your cooler with food and beverage of whatever you'd like.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be selling bottled water. There's, conveniently located bathrooms right there, not far from the viewing area. So, we're going to start out at 150 people. Out back, normally there, we could have close to 500. So the outdoor number is 50% of that, right around 250, 240. We went for these first 3, at least, we're 100% going just 150. We're going to cap it at that for the very first 3. And then, unless, a month and a half from now, the governor comes on and says, oh, things are looking beautiful, we could go, then, but all the tickets are on sale right now. They're all selling very well. anybody listening to this, please eventbrite.com, go get your ticket, because while supplies last, there's a few shows that are already half sold. So, it's doing well, and hopefully we could release more tickets though. That's what I'm hoping for a couple of these shows, that we could release more tickets as time goes on here, in August and in September, for some of them that are going to sell really well, and people that want to come,
August again.
There we go. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I have it pulled up here because I feel like this lineup is important to mention, because like, AJ, you and I talked about how this all came together. And I don't want to say it came together easily, because I'm sure there were different hurdles outside of just the talent. But I mean, let's talk about it real quick. You said Memorial Day weekend, May 30th, you have Dustin Douglas and the Electric Gentlemen, The Tribe, Bob Lewis, and Brendan Brisk Band. Then in June 13th, we have Brett Alexander and Friends, along with Ellie Rose, both fantastic. July 11th, Miz featuring the Mule Team, another great artist and great band. And then August 15th, I said August again, Tiger's Jaw acoustic, along with A Fire with Friends, Langan, Frost, and Wayne. Another date in August, University Drive, Toothless, Gods of Space, Machine Arms. That show alone is very diverse. I mean, I don't know if anyone has heard Toothless before. They are completely different than, University Drive. And then you have Gods of Space, which is this kind of like space rock, like prog rock.
It's all heavy though. It's all heavy music.
Yeah.
So that's where it bridges gaps. Like Foo Fighters years ago used to take different type acts, a stoner metal band, or like Jimmy Eat World sometimes would open for them, or like Sonic Youth, like, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, I mean, I love it. I mean, that's what we tried doing. We were doing the Alt Natives Underground series at your venue. I was putting the first opening act as an acoustic act, and I was trying to make them different than, the main act, just because I wanted people to be introduced to different styles of music. So I mean, I think it's great. And then, September 12th, you have Rosary Guild, Modern Ties, Joe Burke and Company, and Noxon. That's 4 great acts right there. And then to close things out, September 26th, is it Bunny Lane?
Yeah, Bunny Lane.
Bunny Lane and the Virgos, Life of Riley, Stay Loud, Wicked, Glare, and Little Star Run.
Yeah.
Again, tickets for all those shows are available now at eventbrite.com. So if you're interested in those shows, like AJ said, please, by all means, get them now, because I think all of these should sell out. I mean, I mean, you can't find much better homegrown talent than that's on this lineup for the Outback series at Karl Hall. So kudos to you, man.
Thanks, John. I mean, that's the thing. I had the opportunity to bring some people in from out of town, and I thought, you know what? No, we need to pull out all the stops and call everybody locally, and have this be one of, if not their first show back, or one of their very first few shows back. It will be for a lot of people, a lot of these acts, and all the acts are all made up of folks originally from here, or bands that hail from here, or bands that started here and live somewhere else, or artists that started here. Like Bob Lewis lives in Nashville now, a great friend of you and I, Johnny. Yeah. And, can't wait. I played with him many years, and excited for him. And obviously, Tiger's Jaw, Ben's in Philly, but Brianna's here locally, and just Brian Langan, he's in Philly, his new group, Langan, Frost, and Wayne. Fire with Friends playing again. They did some stuff, through the pandemic, released a little stuff here or there. They haven't played in a while, so that's exciting. And then, that very first lineup, Dustin Douglas, Electric Gentlemen, just put out some stuff. The Tribe put out some stuff in the middle of this. Bob Lewis put out some stuff in the middle of this. Brendan Brisk Band, they put out a really, really great record, and a really cool music video along, with one of the lead songs on that album. So, it's just chocked full of greatness. And, I keep saying this, I'll take the Pepsi challenge for musicians in this area any day, because we have some real shit here. And I've lived other places. I've played gigs all over this country, and, this area really has a lot of great talent, and people, I can't say it enough. And people need to really understand that and cultivate that and be grateful for that, especially coming out of this,
Yeah.
And I think people are excited, and they're ready to go. But John, I also have to say, thank you as well for doing, the shirts for the scene. I know that just ended, and that was a really, really, really great thing, that you put out there for local bands. And, it couldn't have been a better thing. And I know Joe participated as well. And that's awesome. That stuff like that is, what brought communities together in these times. And I was involved with the shirts from the scene that, or shirts off our back, that Axelrad did, for the local businesses. And then this one for the local bands. It was incredible, And,
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to really, when, as you both know, I mean, you both had music on the show that I hosted, a radio show called Alt Natives on Alt 92.1. The show got put on hiatus in October. And when that happened, it was really weird for me. I kind of sat back and I was like, I felt like I lost a purpose. And not that I was like anybody doing anything special. Like I had an hour-long show on the radio here in NEPA on a Saturday night, 9:00. Like I'm not setting the world on fire, but like that hour on that weekend, that Saturday night, gave me a sense of purpose, and I felt like I was part of a community. And I didn't get paid to do it, but it was my favorite part of my job. Like one of the reasons I left the radio stations was because I no longer had that. Like I wasn't asked to leave. I didn't get fired. My primary job was sales. So like I was thankful that I still had a job and all that kind of stuff. But like there was like nothing holding me there anymore. Like if I had got a job offer and I still had that show, I probably would have said no, just because I loved it that much. And then when it ended, I felt lost. And I'm like, how can I continue to be part of their lives, the musicians and artists in this area? And how can I help them, without having, a show where I can play their music and hopefully introduce them to new ears or whatever it might be. And so I approached Axelrad and I asked them to steal their idea. As you mentioned, AJ, they had the shirts off their backs movement that I think raised over $87,000 for local businesses, which is crazy. So I said, all right, well, you have the infrastructure to do it. Can I steal that and do it for the local bands? And they, without hesitation, they're like, yeah, let's do it. And, we ended up raising $8,700 that wrapped up at the end of March. So we're a little bit behind as far as getting some of those last orders delivered. So we do apologize for that, as well as the checks being fulfilled to the artists that, the money we raised, but that they will be going out shortly. We just moved facilities. Not that it's an excuse, but it was a pretty big undertaking as far as, moving a whole production facility from one place to the next. And we're busier than ever at Axelrad too, which is, I think we're busier than we were last year. I think we're actually busier than they were in 2019 this time. So it's a good problem to have. But if anyone's listening to this and they're like wondering, did this asshole just raise money and pocket the funds? No, I would never do that. The checks will be coming. I'd even like to have some people come and pick them up, maybe do some photos and check out the new place too, because we really want to focus, on bands and stuff like that, where if bands need merch and we can be there for them and that kind of source. So that will be happening soon, I promise. I just don't know exactly when, but it should be within the next week or two.
Kudos to you, man. That's a great thing, without a doubt. and what you're talking about, man, in a way that's, saying that you felt you had this purpose and, you love doing it. I mean, that's exactly how we feel when we put this original music out too. It's the same thing. Like we'll go anywhere and play a show for nothing as long as people want to listen, and sometimes people don't listen, but we still want to play. And that's, so definitely understand, that feeling of, same thing. That's how I felt. I felt lost too.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I got nothing now, Like,
That's why I started this, because I was like, and I did it for selfish reasons. I'm like, I have to do something, and I hope that people gravitate to it and utilize the platform that I'm trying to build to talk about your events this summer, AJ, and Joe, talk about your music. And I just want this whole thing to be, I keep calling it like a vehicle for good, just helping spread the positivity. Like, NAPA always gets a bad rap as far as like, a lot of negative people, and that's true. But I mean, we as individuals in the community have to, say, hey, we live here, we play here, like our families are from here, or like I have a kid, he's going to be raised here. We have to do the best we can to move things forward. And AJ, I mean, you opening up this Karl Hall in downtown Wilkes-Barre, you didn't do that to become rich. I mean, that's not in any way why you did it. And you probably, if you've made any money at all, it probably would get you a tank of gas at this point. But you did it because you love music, you love having artists perform, and you love this area too. I mean, you're from here, you're born here, you're living here now. So it's kudos to you as far as creating something that people can also utilize.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I just want people to, like you said, be positive, cultivate the situation, and just understand these things and why they're here. And we're here for you, we're all here for you. Joe's here for you, writing incredible tunes. John, you're here for us in many different ways of promoting incredible tunes and other things, and now promoting bands on their chests, even more so, working for Axelrad, which is awesome. And I'm like you said, man, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it because the area used to always have it, and then it went away, and I went away, and then I came back because I thought, well, that can't go away. I was a product of that, and coming from that, and playing places like Murray's Inn and the Jazz Cafe and Cafe Metropolis and, Home Base, and, all these different places over the years that, a lot of them aren't even here anymore. Tinks, but yeah, we're just here to keep moving forward, not backward.
Don't
not
look back.
15 years ago, not sitting here talking about, the station and, this, I remember when, and no, we're
It's not coming back.
Forward.
It's not coming back. Stop talking about it.
Not coming back. No, we're moving forward. You have to move forward in life.
Yeah.
Like none of us wanted COVID. None of us wanted it, but we have to deal with it. We have to move forward.
Yeah.
That's all you can do,
Well, you kind of ruined what I'm about to say, because I'm going to look back real quick. AJ, one of my fondest memories of you, there's a picture of it from Murray's. There was a group of us, you, Brian Keating, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Brian Keating's birthday at Murray's.
He was bleeding in the picture. He was bleeding.
I think he cut his hand on his I don't even know what he was playing.
Bongos.
Yeah. So there was that. And then hopefully your parents aren't watching this or listening. And if they are, I mean, we're old now. But the party at your parents' house.
So think about that.
What's that?
I said my parents. No, I'm kidding. I said, my parents will be listening, whatever it is.
Well, it's fine. You were too young to even be there. We had a party at AJ's parents' house.
Oh, they know all about it. They know that I used to do it summer solstice, the weekend before the 4th of July, because they always went
Oh no.
away that weekend. And
Yeah.
go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, you froze for a minute.
Oh, I said what the summer solstice party,
Yeah.
the weekend before the 4th of July at my parents' house every year, because they were always away. But what were you gonna say about it? Was there?
Well, no, it was just I mean, it wasn't anything crazy outside of the fact that I think someone shot off fireworks at somebody or someone jumped in the pool. I forget exactly what it was. I just remember it being a good time.
I rode a keg in that pool. I was on top of an empty keg in the pool.
And I think that was I was walking through your parents' house and you had there's a picture of somebody with the last name Diamond.
No, Popko.
Or is it Popko?
Popko.
Okay.
Yes, because then we talked all about that. And then like I remember my uncle even saying, like, when he would see the Weekenders and stuff, he'd be like, who is this guy? This Popko. Because that's my uncle is Tom Popko. So he's like, who's this Popko guy? You have to know him, right? I said, oh yeah, I know. I said, we had a conversation in my parents' living room about how I'm technically, I have Popko blood in me and he's a Popko too.
I don't know why I thought it was my mom. My mom's maiden name is Diamond. I forgot it was Popko, but yeah, it was. I knew there was some kind of connection there.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of us out there.
we may be long lost brothers.
Maybe. I mean, that's why I had to call this the Popko Project. People are like, people know who you are. They know your name, and it's different than everything else. So you gotta. The last thing I want to do is name my after myself. But here we are. And then we're actually wearing my shirt. It's not creepy at all.
That's
But
a good one.
I went to pick up my kid's T-ball uniform, like I said before, and I said, I'm here for Popko, and he's like, oh yeah, I couldn't tell from your shirt. I'm like, oh yeah. Felt really embarrassed. I'm like, oh yeah, I have my own face on my body outside of my head. But
I'm thinking both Popko and Jump are two names that need to live on in some way. I feel like you two are definitely the only two with those last names that I've met. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because I'm both of them. My mom's a Popko and my dad's the Jump. So like,
there you go.
I got them both, man.
There you go.
what's your mom's name?
My mom's maiden name is Popko.
Yeah, what's her first name though?
Paula. Yeah,
That's a hell of a name, Paula
Yeah.
Popko. My
Well,
aunt's
That's a great name.
my aunt's name is Penny or Penelope was her actual name. But she
Penny
went by
Popko?
Penny Popko, yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
that's a name.
That's a storybook name, or that's like that's like literature that you find a great name like that, you know?
And then when they brought Full House back, there was a kid named Bobby Popko.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when it was Fuller House on Netflix, they had a troubled kid, and his name was Bobby Popko.
Of course he was troubled.
Troubled.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Well, troubled, or just I guess he was troubled because he was just kind of like an instigator, like Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
Pick on the Polish kid.
Bastards. Bastards.
That's funny.
Oh man. Well, I won't keep you guys too much longer. I know you probably.
I wanted to say real quick on the t-shirt front. A lot of I mean, of course, I won't repeat the thank yous because I think AJ said it perfectly. And
I need them. Give them to me. Feed my ego. Blow my head up.
I'll tell you one thing I thought about was a lot of my brother and I are like the youngest of the cousins on my dad's side, and all of my older cousins are old enough where they're each having a kid like once every 4 months. It seems like another kid is born, and it's great, and they're all great kids. But the shirts themselves, like them going out, coincided with the birth of at least 3 or 4, and I'll send them to you. But I got at least 4 infants, like infants, 5 days old, in shirts that were made, for Joe Burke and Co. through this project that you had, which I thought was pretty fun.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
it's cool seeing a lot of the bands were posting pictures of shirts that they bought from other bands. And I think that's cool because, and AJ can probably speak to this as well. Like early 2000s, even into the mid 2000s, like it was kind of cutthroat in this area. Like, every band thought they were the best band in the market, or like if you were a cover band, you were like, better than everybody else. And I'm not like trashing anybody. That's just kind of how the vibe was. And it's not like that anymore. And I don't know if it's because
That's a
we grew
good thing, though.
it's a great thing. It's a great
Yeah.
thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like to see all these bands like, buying these t-shirts and posting them on social media saying like, oh, I picked up a Dud shirt, or I picked up a Joe Burke shirt, or the fact that people bought the shirt that I have with my stupid face on it is like, it still baffles my mind.
Yeah.
But it would just, again, like it just, people in NEPA, I just made a post today, we've proven again and again that, we always take care of our own here in our area. And that's just a perfect example of it.
Yeah. One thing that made me think of is that I think that like other musicians, I think I give musicians credit for giving shout outs to other musicians, because for one, to get people to pay attention to your own stuff can be hard enough. So giving somebody else airtime on your own pages is a really wonderful thing, very others centered. And I think too, though, that speaks to the idea that like from the standpoint of somebody who's putting stuff out, this goes back to the conversation of positivity and negativity. Like the world and people from behind their screens can be a very negative place. And I think like when you're someone who's releasing music, oftentimes very personal experiences, or could be art, could be other forms of artistic creations and stuff. You recognize what I don't want to say a struggle, because people obviously go through a lot of stuff and a lot of different stuff in life, but you recognize how difficult that can be. One, for people not giving you the credit you deserve just for doing it, or even two, I don't know, maybe it stops there, but I just think that there is a good sense of that around here, of people recognizing, how difficult it can be, and that there's a vulnerability to it as well. And I think that's a great thing. I see a lot of that too, on release days and stuff, all the bands from around here sharing each other's songs, and that is a great thing for sure.
Well, I mean, AJ, I'm thinking now, like, if you're looking at the lineup here, like I just feel like you would never see this much local talent in a series. And then, if you had, let's just the first one, for instance, like, Dustin Douglas and the Tribe and Bob Lewis, I feel like those four acts, they won't care what time slot they have. They could go on first, they can go on second, they can go on last. Back in the day, it would have been like, oh, well, I deserve to be the headliner because I'm so and so or whatever. All these guys here and girls, they're just happy to be part of it.
I mean, yeah, 99.5%. We'll
All
say that.
Well, you say
Not to, you know me, I'm not a bullshitter,
I know.
but you're right. But there is, so every now and then some of that stuff happens. Not on
Okay.
this particular, but it still happens.
Sure. But not as much as it used to, by any means.
No, not as much as it used to. Definitely not. And that's great, because it's moving forward and in a different light. And it's, but you're darn right. Back in the day, it was real cutthroat. Every band, there was a certain events and certain things. Oh yeah, the slots totally were about this power trip or whatever you want to call it. It's just silliness.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the rock star is actually kind of going away if you really think about it. There's maybe a handful of folks, but the majority of artists nowadays, man, it's not like when we were kids. When we were kids, every band, like the front man or the guitar player or like from the 80s on, like even before that, like Led Zeppelin, The Who, like Ozzy Osbourne, like those were rock stars,
Yeah.
you know?
AJ, you know who was making that point? John, in my fall semester this past year, I took an entertainment law class, and every week it was 2 hours, 3 hours once a week, and usually for the first hour, this husband and wife duo that were teaching the class, they were entertainment lawyers out of Philadelphia, and they could never disclose to us who they were representing, but they'd make these very suggestive hints. They'd say, we represent this artist that did blank blank, and you'd be like, oh man, that's got to be this person. But point of what I was saying was that they'd bring on producers and people in the business and stuff like that, people doing the legal work, people doing the PR stuff. And someone that they brought on was Larry Mazer, who has been a band manager for his career and had connections. I knew his name sounded familiar when he was on. And of course, I'm just seeing him over Zoom. But he had connections to Brett Alexander, who we work with all the time, and who's obviously incredible in his own right in so many ways. And he had connections to Breaking Benjamin as well. And he was making that observation that he said, like, one of the greatest differences I see is that the mystique for the rock star is gone. And that he's not blaming social media, because he was like, I recognize what it does, in terms of being able to get information out there, being able to promote content. But, now you can see how, like, these favorite musicians of yours, how they wake up, start their day. Do they have kids? Do they have a pet, tiger or something like that? There's not the reason why you look back at these videos of, like, the, opening on one of these late night talk shows and the Beatles are playing and people are freaking the fuck out, because that was the only time you would get a glimpse at them. Right. Otherwise you couldn't see them unless you were working for them or something. And that is, like, disappeared. And I think there are residual rock stars. Someone like Dave Grohl is kind of a rock star in my mind. He's the man, I think, and there's others, of course. But, like, it's different now.
100%. I think a lot of musicians, I think they're also forced to really view what they do as a business. So the whole, partying, and I'm sure this still happens, but the partying and the antics and all that nonsense that they were doing back in the 70s, 80s, or even before then, like, you can't afford that anymore. Because, again, too, because of social media, like, you get caught on camera doing that stuff too, like, your career's over. Like, they're just forced to.
Exactly.
I have friends that were on the early Warped tours and on early 2000s college tours, and they flat out say out loud, like, man, the shit that we did was so dumb. Like, yeah. And you would never, ever, ever, ever get away with it today.
No.
And I mean, and again, a lot of that's for the better, obviously,
sure.
And, we all, stupid shit is stupid shit, but it's going to be interesting to see how, like, it's basically evolving, something that was so egotistical and so in the forefront, like, it's evolving it for the better, because also, like, there, the horror stories you hear about some of these rock stars being scumbags, it's the truth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, and there's, and now because of social media and stuff like that, they've been exposed, and they know that they can be exposed so easily now that they're checked.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so unfortunate though. Like, it's good because, like, if any, male fronted band or any male, in general was, like, taking advantage of a female, I'm glad that's exposed. But, like,
absolutely,
the harmless stuff that you do, the stuff you do as a kid because you're young and stupid, that doesn't hurt anybody. You have to be mindful of that. And it's like, you're kind of like, taking that away to an extent. Like it is what it is.
But again, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. Now, like I'm in the realm of being a stepfather now, and to a 5 and a 7-year-old, and it's like just sitting there thinking like, okay, when they're 15 and 17, how much different are things going to be? Because we were telling them the other day about the telephone on the wall. They like just that. They were like they're sitting there like, like they're so used to, you go everywhere with your telephone. What do you mean the telephone was only on the wall?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 17 years old. And even at that, it wasn't turned on the whole time till I was about 24.
Yep. I had a bag phone in the car. It was like, you don't plug this in and turn it on unless you were like dying on the side of the road.
Yeah, I didn't get a cell phone until I started driving full time, and I didn't use it to call anybody regularly until I was in college.
Well, no one else had a phone to call. So,
but yeah, I mean, and texting, I remember when I started texting. It was right around one of those parties that I had when I was 25. And this girl that I was hanging out with at the time, she was like, oh yeah, you got this new phone. Let me show you that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm a texter now, 15 years ago, texting.
I still text.
Well, yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
That's a joke.
But it's, it's, things are, who knows where they're going to go now. I mean, COVID changed so much, fast when things were already changing so much so fast. So I just want to be able to get on a train and go to New York City from here. Like, enough's enough with this horse shit. Like, it was already here. Like, what the fuck is these people's problems?
AJ, make it happen.
Make it happen. Sure. The day I get into government is, the day I move to Russia. No, thank you. I'm not. There's no way.
We need the change. We need to be the change we want to see in the world, AJ.
Yeah, well, there should have been a train fucking 20 years ago.
There should have been.
God knows why, people have their theories. There was a train in the 1950s from here to New York City. And you're telling me there can't be one now? That's horseshit. It's so stupid. It's nonsense.
We're so much more advanced.
It's ridiculous.
People keep looking back.
That's on the horizon. I feel like that's going to happen.
What was that, Joe?
I feel like that's going to happen. I feel like I've heard at least that maybe even to Philadelphia, that's something that will happen.
Yeah, Joe. You know what? You're so young and naive.
No.
I mean, maybe, but that doesn't make it bad.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, and someday they'll legalize marijuana too, Joe.
You believe it? They've been talking about that for almost 20 years too.
You know what? I don't want to get into politics, but like I'll never forget when Tom Wolfe, it was like 2014. It's like, we're just gonna sit back and wait and see what the states like Colorado does. And then all of a sudden, a pandemic hits and the state's broker than they've ever been before. Now it's like on top of his list. We need to legalize marijuana, recreational marijuana.
I mean, let it be, man. I lived in Oregon and worked in the industry. I haven't smoked pot in years and years and years. And I got a paycheck and actually paid taxes working in that industry.
Who would have thought?
And that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So like, that's old hat now. Like, and they had it together with that out in Oregon. It was interesting to see everything shaking and moving at that time, but it's coming, man. It's coming. It's just the Fed is letting all these states do the work for them, and then they'll come in, do their changes, and then guess what? It'll probably end up being like Anheuser-Busch. All these major corporations are going to come in and buy up,
especially the tobacco companies,
the other small guys.
The tobacco companies, and I'm not a pot smoker. I'm not good at it. Like, It's just, it is what it is. But I want to see the state that I live in prosper from the tax money that could be created from it.
Yeah.
Put it towards education. Put it towards the homeless. Put it towards
Potholes.
Yeah,
Potholes.
pot for potholes. Let's start the campaign. Fire it up.
Pot for potholes. That's it. That's the next T-shirt. Pot for potholes. PA in the
I love it.
in the
We'll make it happen
keystone.
tomorrow.
Pot for potholes.
I know a guy that works at a t-shirt company.
Yeah, I
know a guy.
Too.
Pot for potholes. No one take that idea.
No.
It's copywritten.
You gotta write it in a note and then send it in a letter to yourself. That's how you take care of the copywriting.
Joe, you're a lawyer. Let's go. Come on.
My legal advice is don't take my legal advice just yet.
Come on, Joe. What kind of promotion is that for yourself?
No, I will say, yeah. I mean, we'll say on the weed front, I think too, like, about people that have like spent time in jail for having an amount of weed that people walk around with on a daily basis for back pain or something like that. You know,
Can't do that, Joe. There's too much money involved.
There's a lot to it for sure. A lot to it.
Shit. Well, we're not going to solve the world's problems here.
We can try.
No one wants to hear it. I'm sure my 5 listeners have tuned out already. So I don't want to take up your entire night. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate both of you. You're two of my favorite people in this market. I'm glad to call you guys friends. And Joe, I remember I said it before. I'll say it again too, because it's a different channel. I remember seeing you. I think it was Record Store Day in 2016. I was next to AJ. I said it to AJ.
It's full circle because AJ was the one who got me the gig in the first place.
Right.
I didn't even really. We knew each other a little bit at that point, but not too well. Certainly not as well as.
It's amazing. Yeah. So Record Store. I think it was 2016. Record Store Day. Joe Nardone's Gallery of Sound in Wilkes-Barre. And you started playing. And I remember standing there and I turned around. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
I said, AJ, who is this guy? You're like, oh, it's Joe Burke. I'm like, does he have music I can buy? Because I want to buy it. No, he's working on stuff, blah, blah, blah. I said, all right, well, let me know. It was like took 2 years to get it.
He said that's Joe Burke, and you said, oh, all right, no,
that's not true. I harassed AJ for years until the record came out. Hey, that guy at Nardone's place, does he have stuff out? Especially when I started the radio show.
And
True story.
Yeah.
I remember that. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to. I earmarked that before we started this to. I hope either you brought that up or I brought it up. But
I forgot about that.
Like Joe said, full circle. But John, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Best of luck with the new song. Again, not March, May 7th, this Friday. And check out Joe's music. It's streaming everywhere. And then obviously with AJ Jump and his Outback at Karl Hall 2021 concert series running from May through September. You can get your tickets at eventbrite.com. So guys, thank you again. I appreciate your time. And hopefully I will see you guys sooner than later.
Amen. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. See you.
See ya.
Yep.